Hello students. Today in this video, we are going to learn the concepts of PL/SQL programming. Hope you all have completed structured query language SQL and you know how to create tables. You also know how to insert data into the tables, how to put primary keys and foreign key constraints to the tables. So you might have executed so many queries including joins. But now we are going to see the next part of database management system, that is PL/SQL programming. Let me first introduce you what is PL/SQL. PL/SQL stands for, it is a procedural language extension given to the structured query language. Means it is an extension of SQL, which is a procedural language. PL is a procedural language. And it is also considered as the Oracle Corporation's standard language for relational databases. And how is it constructed? It is constructed, you can see in this picture, it is constructed by combining all the SQL statements which you have learned till now with some of the programming concepts like loops and many other functions procedures put forward coming to your PL/SQL. Okay, so now we are going to see what this PL/SQL is in compared to the SQL which you have learned. SQL structured query language is called as, it is a database structured query language. But PL/SQL, the name itself is telling you it is a programming language using SQL. Then in SQL, you have no control structures like for loop, while loop or anything. You simply write queries which are restricted to data definition language commands, data manipulation language commands, and some of the data control language commands. But nowhere you make use of any programming loop concepts. Whereas in PL/SQL, you can write programs using the control structures like for loop, while loop, and all those. Okay. Then coming to the next difference, whenever you write any SQL query, one query can at the most perform only one operation. Means either one insert or one delete or update, that one select. But when you come to PL/SQL program, it performs group of operations in a single block. Means you can just submit one block with so many SQL statements and all the SQL statements will be executed as one single block. And SQL, structured query language, is called as a declarative language, whereas PL/SQL is called as a procedural language. And SQL can be embedded into PL/SQL. But PL/SQL cannot be embedded into SQL. That means when you're writing a PL/SQL program, inside the body of a PL/SQL program, you can write many SQL queries. But when you are writing an SQL query, you cannot include a PL/SQL program into that. Okay, and one more difference here is in SQL, there is a direct interaction between the database and the server. Okay, whenever you're trying to execute any query, the databases directly interact with the server. But this direct interaction is not possible in PL/SQL. It does not interact directly with the databases and servers. Okay, and here in SQL, it is always called as data-oriented language. Means whatever operations you are performing, always they will be revolving around the data itself. But when you come to a PL/SQL program, it is always an application-oriented language. Means it uses data, it uses control structures, it uses SQL queries, all put together, it designs an application. And that application is being executed in the form of a program. That's why it is called as an application-oriented language. Okay, and SQL majorly is used for writing queries in DDL and DML. Maximum you can write is DDL and DML queries. Whereas when you look at PL/SQL, you will be having several program blocks, functions, procedures, cursors, triggers, packages, and many more advanced concepts, which is extending SQL up to a large extent and providing us with the option of programming. Now, after seeing the differences between what is SQL and what is PLSQL, now let us come into more details of PLSQL. PLSQL is always having a block kind of structure. Like you people have learned C programming language. Whenever anybody tell you how to write a C statement or C program, you write hash include stdio.h void main and you will open the bracket. And inside this bracket, you are writing the entire variable declaration, executable statements, input statements, output statements, and at the end, you are closing the bracket, which means it is a block. From opening bracket to close bracket, it is a block. And what all executable statements you are writing inside the block are getting executed when you are compiling the program. Here also, PLSQL is a block structure which has several executable statements. And this particular PLSQL supports or give you help of variables, constants, and many other data types. Means you can declare variables, you can declare constants, you have different kinds of data types. It will also support control structures, loop structures, conditional statements. Maybe you people have learned all this in your C programming or C++ programming, and there are functions also which are also called as reusable programming units. You people have learned functions. What is a function? It is a small executable part which can be reused many number of times. So these all features of any programming language, basic programming language, are also supported by PLSQL. Okay. Now let us just see what is the entire execution environment of PLSQL. Now whenever a PLSQL program is submitted, we know that PLSQL program is a combination of SQL queries as well as some executable statements. So whenever any PLSQL program enters for execution into the PLSQL engine, two things happen. First one is all the SQL statements which are present in the block gets extracted and they are sent to the SQL statement executor. SQL statement executor, because SQL statements are executed separately and PLSQL procedural statements are executed separately. And see here in the above you can see in the figure that whatever procedural statements are there, they all are extracted and they are given to the procedural statement executor. And you can also see here, I told you SQL has a capability of directly interacting with the database in the server, but PLSQL cannot do that. I have explained you in the differences somewhere here. You can see SQL, it directly interacts with the database server, but PLSQL does not interact directly with the database server. The same thing you can see here. What all SQL statements have been extracted, they only are going into the database server, but the PLSQL program statements are not going into that database server. It cannot interact directly. It can interact only with the help of SQL. Okay, then what are the benefits when you are making use of PLSQL? Naturally, there are many benefits because when compared to SQL, PLSQL can support so many things. And when a programming language is supporting so many extra features, definitely there will be benefits. Not only sending SQL statement 1, SQL statement 2, now you can send an entire block of program at a time for execution. This is the biggest benefit of any PLSQL program. Now let us see how the block structure of any PLSQL program should be. Like you people have learned, again coming back to C. How do you write hash include stdio.h, which should always be the first line of any C program. Then void main or int main depends upon the return type. Then you open a bracket. Then you start writing int A, int B, whatever it is. Similarly here also, PLSQL program block also has a structure. And it starts with a keyword called as declare. It starts with a keyword called as declare. Mostly this keyword is considered to be optional, but a good programmer always suggestible to use this particular keyword. And after this keyword declare, first block of the program starts where you people have to declare the variables, cursors, and the user defined exceptions, whatever they are. Then you should come up with the keyword that is a second block begin. And this begin indicates that your SQL statements and PLSQL statements start from here. Till here you have only declared the variables cursors which will be used in the program. But the actual original SQL statements and PLSQL statements will be written only after the keyword begin, that is in this particular second block of the program. And the third block is really an optional block. You can make use of it only if you are going for exception handling. Okay, and exception is nothing but an error condition. Okay, you might have learned in C++ exception handling. Okay, then this declare has to end here. The block has to end here with the keyword end followed by a semicolon. So whenever you're writing any PLSQL program, the program must start with a declare. Then soon after the keyword, you should declare all the variables required for the program. Then you should start with the second block begin, where you will be writing all the SQL and PLSQL statements. Then there is an optional block exception. Then every PLSQL program has to end with a keyword END followed by semicolon. We tell you every SQL statement has to end with a semicolon. Here also, PLSQL program has to end with a semicolon. Then these all things you have been learning from many programming languages, how to declare a variable, how to initialize a variable. Okay, so these are some of the examples how you will be declaring the variables. Then you have a special kind of facility in this particular PLSQL programming, percentage type attribute. Whenever you are dealing with any table and its columns for which you are writing the program, and when you are writing the program, you may not be able to recall that what data type you have given to that particular column in that particular table. For example, there is a column called as employee name or last name in employee table. You don't remember what data type you have given to that particular column. Then you can simply make use of this percentage type attribute. What it will do in the PLSQL program, whatever data type you have assigned there, while creating the employee table, the same data type will come and get assigned to your program variable. This is the biggest advantage in this PLSQL program. So see the example also. There is an employee table. You have a variable called as employee L name, which represents the employee's last name. But you don't remember what data type you have used there. So you simply write the table name employees dot last name percentage type. Then the PLSQL program will automatically go to that table employee, check out what is the data type for that column, then it will come and assign the same data type to this particular program value. Okay, there is one more example here also for balance. Percentage type is being used. And there is a facility of declaring Boolean variables also. You all know what are Boolean variables, either true or false. Okay, so either true or false, either 0 or 1. Okay, then here also conditional expressions can also be used. Logical operators and or can also be used. Okay, arithmetic operators, expressions. So PLSQL can help you, or it will give you a facility to use anything which can be used in a general programming language. The only difference matters in the syntax which you will be using and the block structure which you will be using. Okay, so hope I am going clear with what I'm trying to explain. So in this video, I have explained you about the basics of what PLSQL is and how is it important. The next video, we are going to learn what is meant by triggers in PLSQL, what is its importance and how a trigger program can be used.